You have to be taught to hate. Let me say that again. You have to be taught to hate. Children don't grow up with that natural urge. It's learned behavior. And just outside Tulsa, Oklahoma, we have just seen exactly what that hate has wrought. A 16-year-old sophomore at Owasso High School, a gender nonconforming teen named Nex Benefict, was literally beaten to death inside Owasso High. Their head slammed into the floor so often and so hard that they couldn't even walk to the nurse's station. Nex Benefict died within a few hours of that attack. And while there is rightful outrage at the school for not stopping the beating, for not calling an ambulance after the beating, for not even taking a report after the beating, even though there was a police officer stationed inside the school the entire time, and while all of those things are both infuriating and outrageous, and while 2 weeks after the beating, there's been no arrest of those who beat Nex Benefict to death, and that too is infuriating and outrageous. While all of that is true, we also need to look at where all this comes from, because you have to be taught to hate. Internet troll and right-wing darling Chaya Raichik, the former real estate agent who uses the screen name Libs of TikTok, even though she posts on Twitter, had fomented hatred at Owasso High, targeting a now former Owasso 8th grade teacher who was open in support of LGBTQ+ students. Oklahoma's ambitious Republican Education Commissioner, Ryan Walters, who put out a video calling trans and non-binary students, quote, a threat to school safety, close quote. He rewarded Raichik, who lives in California, by appointing her to review Oklahoma's school library books. Has Walters spoken out about the murder of a student inside one of his schools? Not at all. Has any Oklahoma official done so? No. The state is controlled, top to bottom, by Republicans. How about the leader of their party, the revenge-seeking Donald Trump? Of course not. He's vowed to stop anyone from even being gender nonconforming. Have any of the right-wing evangelical pastors spoken out? Do they remember the sixth commandment that they preach about? Or do they somehow think that trans and non-binary students just aren't covered in their version of Christianity? No, they're too busy teaching, if not openly, by their example and by the legislation they push. They're teaching people to hate. And if you're inclined to give them all a pass because they didn't explicitly call for violence against this particular student, consider this. Their silence is assent. Their silence after teaching the hate, that's complicity.